Good evening everybody, it's your pal Metalhead here. I hope you're going well. It's day number 10 of Vlogust. I'm not halfway through the month of August yet, but still, I've reached the quarter mark of August. If I can say that right? Yes. So today's topic is places that I have tried to live in within the United Kingdom, or the British Isles, or Ireland. When I first came to the United Kingdom as a tourist in 2011, I never really wanted to see myself living in London. I fell in love with Birmingham on my first visit. And so many people would talk shit about Birmingham because, well, it's a horrible city, it's really depressive. It used to be like the whole steelworks of Britain, always heavily bombed, World War II. There's racism, xenophobia, da 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 da. And even though my opinions have changed over time, I always wanted to live in Birmingham. And that was the first place I ended up going to. Surprisingly, the fact, before moving to Birmingham in 2015, I was supposed to go in for a job interview in Dublin, Ireland. Because I was going to be there for a couple of days, but I couldn't find the damn office. I eventually gave up. I thought, no, I'm going to go back to Ireland. Sorry, I'm going to go back to Birmingham. That I eventually did by the end of the week. And within a few days of arriving in Birmingham, I had already moved into a house as a lodger in Bearwood. And I had applied for my NHS number and my national insurance number. And it was a hell of a time living in Birmingham for the first time because literally me with the itchy feet, I just wanted to travel. After a couple of weeks, I was like, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm sick and tired of job rejection. I just turned down a job offer at Aston University. I'm going to go travel. I lost my bank card in Bulgaria. And I eventually had to go back to Australia to look after my mom. I moved to Birmingham two times, trying to get the usual things. But I never really got what I wanted. So that's why 6 years ago I turned my back on Birmingham and came to London. I wanted to move to Newcastle at the end of 2016 because I'd been there a couple of times. I thought it was a nice city. It was closer to where a lot of my family live in Middlesbrough, only an hour apart. My grandmother was still alive at the time. I thought maybe I could live in Newcastle and pay visits to my grandma, which I never really did because the last time I saw my grandma was May 2016 and then she died a year and a bit later. And since her passing, I have no communication with my family in Middlesbrough. It was December 2016 and I booked an appointment to inspect a place that was going to cost me 50 quid a week. But because, I didn't have a job, or I wasn't a student, or I didn't have a freaking guarantor, the people at Walton Robertson real estate agent, they wouldn't even consider leasing me this room. Even though I had $2,000 to my name. I had enough money for freaking months. And literally after 3 months, I could apply for the dole, I could get JSC, I could get all these other benefits for being a British citizen. I had a cousin who lived in Newcastle, but even if I wanted to give him cash incentive, he wouldn't even allow me to live in his house. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years. Nothing personal, but I'm not too sure if he's alive or dead right now. But I'm kind of glad I didn't settle in Newcastle because it's less worse than what it is in Middlesbrough. Okay, I could have settled in Middlesbrough. I could have moved in with my Uncle Keith, or one of my dad's half siblings he never told me about, or one of my dad's cousins. But literally, Middlesbrough is an absolute shithole. Right? It's worse than Birmingham. It's worse than some of the other places I've been to. Hell, it's even worse than Baker, where Johnny Clegg was born. And I'm like, I am so glad I was not born there because my life would be screwed up if I was born in Middlesbrough. All my dad's family that he left behind, all that children, they have kids at a really young age. They always were criticizing of me wanting to live in this country. And that's why I don't talk to them. I've always told people that I'd rather be on the plane to Beirut rather than the bus to Middlesbrough. In 2017, I had a job opportunity to move near Falmouth to St. Mawes in Cornwall, which only lasted for 1 day because, well, the job was shit. The location didn't have any phone signal and all, and I couldn't really see myself wanting to stay in this place until the Fates 1 gig, so I eventually left after a day. I'm quite glad that, you know, I left after a day because literally I'd been beaten up prior a week ago in Birmingham, and I just moved down there to escape the shithole of Birmingham, and I just can't believe that like I turned my back on a job all because of this dickhead guy telling me how to do my job. Which, I mean, okay, I am supposed to listen to other people and all, but this person was just such a narcissist, such a nasty person. And I'm like, I understand that you're a smoker and you do some stupid things and you're a foul mouthed person, but I don't want to judge you on that. I just don't think we're going to get along. This is over. So, literally, I've not been back to Cornwall in 6 years, and I couldn't give a toss if I never get back in my life. In the last few months, or like 12 months, I have thought about moving to Ireland, or moving to Northern Ireland, or Belfast, Dublin, whatever you want to call it. There's so many pros and cons, like, in Dublin I'd be in a different country rather than the United Kingdom, but it just means that I'd be paying more in rent, and there'd be a lot more documents that I have to do, like get more numbers and all. But if I moved to Northern Ireland, which is a part of the United Kingdom, rent would be much cheaper. But literally, if I sit on the island of Ireland for 7 years, I've become an Irish citizen. I already have Irish ancestry, but I can't apply for citizenship because it doesn't really apply to me. It only applies to people who had great-grandparents or grandparents who are Irish. Unfortunately, my great-great-grandfather left the island, the 19th century, moved to New Zealand. So, none of my relatives in New Zealand have been able to take up Irish citizenship, although some of my cousins who are in New Zealand, they do have Irish citizenship because their grandfather was born on the... he was born in Belfast, I believe, yeah, born in Northern Ireland. Even before it was Northern Ireland, still, literally their grandfather left Ireland before partition and the War of Independence, yada yada yada. I like to live in Ireland, still honor my Irish ancestors. I know a lot of people who have, you know, Irish roots all over the world, deep connection to the Emerald Island, and yeah, it'd be a nice country to like to live into. I've been to Manchester twice, and I never really wanted to move to Manchester or live there because one single bus ticket would cost £3 sterling. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to pay that. I don't want to move to any of the south of England, like the coastal towns like Southampton, Portsmouth, or even Isle of Wight. I'm not really much of a seaside type of person. I did think many years ago that I'd like to live in Bournemouth, but I never really followed that on because I thought, well, maybe it'd be much cheaper to live in Bournemouth than Birmingham. But you gotta let's remember, right? Let's just say tomorrow, if I basically get handed my notification, I leave this place, I pack up, I've only got savings to my name, but literally I've got no job, and literally nobody's gonna rent me out of place anywhere in England unless I have like a job. So this just means that I would have to stay in friggin' Airbnbs for a certain period of time until I get on my feet, until I get my job, until I can, you know, sign a lease and all. I've been in this house for like 2 years, but I've only been in London for 6 years. So, I don't know when my time in London is going to end. I don't know when I'm going to move away from London. I normally kind of think whenever bad events happen, like losing your job, or getting pissed off at people, or getting really angry and moving away, I thought, well, maybe that's the end of it. Like, I left London in June 2018 because I had a freaking nervous breakdown because the company I was working for were hiring dumb shits. People who couldn't do a good job, and that's why I quit. But then they eventually wanted me back, but I basically pleaded with them to say, look, I'm sorry this had happened, I'm sorry I was angry, I fucked up big time, I don't have much money to my name, I need a job. Sweden couldn't even give me anything in the month I was there, and I've got no respect for Sweden whatsoever. And especially all these stupid people who gave me job interviews, who asked me why I wanted to move to Sweden, And they sent me no job rejection letter, so I would be verbally abusing them later down in life, saying, "You piece of shit, you didn't give me any jobs. You think it's funny that a person like me, of British ancestry, born in Australia, wants to live in Sweden, and you're very judgmental? Then why are you giving all this stuff to all the bloody refugees, the jihads, the neo-Nazis, the Zionists, whatever, the people who undermine Sweden? I mean, come on. I just want to live in a nice country, do a job, pay my rent, go abroad, go to more countries, and if you're freaking jealous of it, then stuff you." And this is a really irritable thing that no matter where you go in Britain, people are always going to be judgmental about you not being born in this country, or you claiming citizenship because of your father's being born here. It doesn't matter. I got friends who have claimed citizenship in other different countries, and they have more blood ties to their adoptive homeland than their own country of birth. In Australia, my birthplace, all I've got is my family's. I've got my Dream Theater records. I've got my got some shit I left behind. I got my relatives. That's about it. You could not pay me to move back to Australia and do a job. I just couldn't care. I wouldn't want to go back there. The only reason I'd go back to Australia would be just to get to Pacific Island nations. Alright? As I've said before, I will go to Kiribati and Tuvalu if I have a large sum of money. But I'm not going to move to Australia just so I can go there. Hell, I might just take a long trip that goes through, Japan, Fiji, to get to Kiribati. Anyway, it's Martin the Metalhead, over and out.